Every Jutsu in Naruto, Part 8. Jutsu are the mystical arts a ninja will utilize in battle. To use a technique, the ninja will need to use their chakra. To perform the technique, the ninja will bring out and release the two energies of chakra. By forming hand seals, the ninja is able to manifest the desired technique. Because of the extensive number of hand seals in different combinations, there are thousands of potential techniques to be discovered. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over every jutsu in Naruto, Part 8. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Face copying technique. The user looks at a target to copy their appearance. The technique is considered to be a flawless transformation technique, as even the copied person's allies won't be able to tell the difference, and the Ninken would not detect a different scent. Though the user copies the person's face and body, they can't use their techniques or unique abilities, and they're also very weak to attack. In order to copy an appearance, the user needs to wear a special mask and stay close to the target for a long time. When the technique commences, the user's eyes begin to glow. The transformation lasts only a few days and is unique to the Whirlwind clan. Feather launching. Satori launches its feathers towards opponents at high speeds, capable of piercing stone ground and chakra-enforced wood. Near the end of his life, Muku, in his human form, fired a barrage of feathers straight from his mouth via a screech when Satori attempted to take over a second time. Feigning sleep technique. Gaara uses this technique to force himself to fall asleep. This causes him to surrender control to Shukaku, who is sealed within him. While it is the dominant personality, Shukaku has complete access to its large chakra reserves, which it uses according to its inherently destructive tendencies. Before using this technique, Gaara creates a full replica of Shukaku out of sand for it to use. Gaara emerges from the replica's forehead in order to perform this technique, where his body remains even after he's asleep. This represents a vulnerability, as opponents can focus their attacks on Gaara with the goal of rousing him. If they do successfully wake Gaara, Shukaku's personality will be suppressed again. Fighting tongue bind. After forcing Senjutsu chakra to it, Shima's tongue grows to its maximum limit and is reshaped with a face. The tongue will then seek out the scent of its target. When the target is found, she ensnares it to prevent escape and marks it with a corrosive chemical. After the enemy is found, Fukusaku can use the fighting tongue slash on it. Fighting tongue slash. By kneading Senjutsu chakra, Fukusaku's long tongue gains utmost solidity and sharpness. It then leaps from his mouth with tremendous speed and force, enough to tear a hole through bedrock and metal pipes with ease. With that ground-splitting power, the enemy is cut in half. The way that both the enemy and the ground itself are cut apart is reminiscent of the strike of a great sword. Finger carving seal. The user concentrates chakra into their finger, and using the heat from that can apply writing of whatever they want to a surface. This technique, however, requires them to be very delicate with their chakra control. The technique causes slight discomfort for a living target, and if it is on flesh, it will scar. Fire release bullet, blaze. The user launches a massive fire at their opponent. When used through autonomous puppets, they can fire it in rapid succession without hand seals. However, continuous firing can lead them to overheat and thus disable them until they've cooled down. Fire release cooperation technique, Garuda. 3 users each breathe a long stream of intense fire which combine to form a flaming dragon. Fire release, ash pile burning. The user spews a stream of chakra-infused gunpowder from their mouth, which surrounds the region. As the gunpowder is composed entirely of ash, it stays in the air around the victim like a cloud, which can be used like a smokescreen. After surrounding the enemy with the ash, the user can ignite it with a flint placed on their teeth beforehand to create a spark, resulting in a violent explosion burning the enemy. However, this technique requires keen senses to read the air currents, the insight to read the movements of the enemy, the tactical experience to not also enfold one's allies in the flames, and careful attention for the timing of the ignition. Fire release, big flame bullet. This technique is a Senjutsu altered version of the fire release flame bullet. The user fills their mouth cavity with oil created inside their body with Senjutsu chakra. The oil is expelled and at the same time ignited, creating a massive flame, equivalent in power to a multitude of flame bullets. The flames can be used as a single projectile or a continuous stream of flames. With a single bullet, Jiraiya was able to instantly incinerate Nagato's giant drill-beaked bird. When used in a closed-off area, the flames produced can completely cut off the front escape route of an enemy cornered in a hallway or room, while thoroughly engulfing each other route. Fire Release, Blast Wave Wild Dance. The Fire Release Blast Wave Wild Dance is a technique that combines the might of the Sharingan and Fire Release. The user needs chakra inside their body and converts it into fire, which is then expelled from their mouth in a large stream. The blaze is drawn into a spiral when the user expands their stomach, which will engulf the opponent in a massive vortex, giving them no option to escape, leaving them to suffer and burn. If needed, Kamui can be used to draw out a whirlwind, aiding the formation of the fiery spiral. As this technique combines the use of the Sharingan and Fire Release, common characteristics of the Uchiha clan, it is indeed a formidable ninjutsu. Fire Release, Blazing Meteors. The user creates a myriad of small fireballs that are then directed towards the target's destination. Fire Release, Crimson Earth Spider. The user spews out fire that both surrounds the enemy and then transforms into a spider that attacks the enemy. This technique effectively traps and attacks an opponent at the same time and can be used to force them into another attack. Fire Release, Demon Lantern. This technique releases many floating fireballs around the user, which take the shape of ghosts at the final stage of the technique. After performing the required hand seal, they attack the opponent in swarms. Each fireball creates a huge flame at the moment of impact. Fire Release, Dragon Fire Technique. The user spits flames from their mouth that, like a dragon's, quickly travel forward in a straight direction. Upon contact with a target, the affected area is engulfed in flames. Whereas the giant fireball technique will burn everything in the vicinity, the dragon fire technique is more narrowly focused at its initial target, likened to a projectile. When first used by Sasuke Uchiha, he uses wire strings to guide the dragon fire technique to his target's face. The anime later shows it burning through a line of enemies, with the flames moving from one enemy to the next. Despite these two cases, the dragon fire technique seemingly does not require a medium through which to be transmitted. Fire Release, Dragon Flame Release Song Technique. This is an advanced version of its parent technique. The technique allows the user to expel several dragon-headed fireballs from their mouth to cover the frontal, left, and right sides of the opponent. As the dragon heads move in an erratic manner, it makes the technique much more difficult to avoid. Fire Release, Exploding Flame Formation. Fire Release Exploding Flame Formation is a technique that was a specialty of Hanzo. This technique makes use of explosive tags that have had a fire release technique applied in advance, which are hidden along the Earth's surface. When the target steps in place, the user slams their palm on the ground and causes the explosive tags to stream towards the target, wrapping around their body from the feet upwards and sticking to them. Once in place around the target's legs, the tags detonate simultaneously, causing a large explosion capable of blasting through solid rock and engulfing the target in flames. On one occasion, despite Hanzo commending Nagato for having avoided this technique, the latter still suffered permanent damage to his legs that severely restricted his mobility, attesting to its destructive power. Fire Release, Fire Dragon Bullet. A basic fire release technique, where the user exhales a flame breath from their mouth. As shown by Hiruzen, this technique can be used in conjunction with Earth Release, Earth Dragon Bullet to ignite the projectiles fired by the latter technique, making it more devastating. Fire Release, Fire Dragon Flame Bullet. After needing chakra, the user breathes fire from their mouth. The flames are manipulated into the shape of a dragon and divided to strike the target from the left, right, and front all at once. Unlike the Great Fireball, which covers a wide area, the Fire Dragon Flame Bullet makes focused strikes, quickly reducing targets to ash upon contact. Alternatively, the flames can coil around the target and form into a vortex, effectively keeping them trapped in place unless they can escape through the top. Because of the power of this technique, as well as the amount of skill it takes to control the flames, there are very few ninja who can perform it, the third Hokage being one such user. Fire Release, Fired Pottery Technique. The user creates powerful flames inside the giant oven created by the Lightning Release 16-pillar bind, cooking the opponent until they're burned. It's used together with Earth Release Sticky Earth Drop to harden the mud covering the enemy's body, and subsequently immobilizes them. Fire Release, Flame Attack. The user imbues their fists with fire release. Upon striking the target, they will become consumed by flames. Fire Release, Flame Bullet. This technique is executed by the user gathering oil in their mouth, created by chakra, then spitting it out and igniting it. This technique simply shoots a flame bullet at the enemy. If the amount of oil that is prepared is kept down, the time it takes to invoke the technique is reduced. This allows the enemy to be stricken unaware, allowing the oil-containing flame bullet to burn them up completely. It's also possible to shoot out a series of flame bullets by partitioning the oil, or a continuous flamethrower. If this technique is fired after covering the enemy with oil using the toad oil bullet, it has the power to wound or kill. This also keeps down the consumption of chakra. Fire release, flame capture. The user creates a fire whip. It can knock an opponent a considerable distance, strong enough to damage rock. Fire release, flame whirlwind. Fire erupts around the user's body in a spiraling manner, which is then launched with its hands towards the target. Once the technique hits the target, the opponent is sent into the air in a spiraling manner and their body burns to ashes. Fire release, Flint Yagura. The user throws a lighter on the ground in front of his opponent and expands the flame into a wall of fire. It is noted to be a technique that makes a small spark burst into a pillar of flame. Fire release, Foxfire. The user manifests 10 fireballs in a circle in front of them and launches them with their hand motions. Fire release, Great Dragon Fire Technique. The user compresses a large amount of chakra built up inside their body and changes it into a dragon head-shaped fireball. The user then skillfully manipulates that great fire and attacks their opponent. Even outside of the attack range, its power and reliability are stressed. The flames have a high temperature, which can create an upward movement of air currents, which in turn can give rise to thunderclouds. A master of this technique can fire off several flames in succession, and anyone caught in the technique could potentially be reduced to ashes. Fire release, Great Fire Annihilation. The pinnacle of Uchiha fire release techniques. Chakra needed inside the body is converted into fire and then expelled from the mouth and shaped into a literal sea of flames, which covers a wide range. This makes the technique extremely difficult to either avoid or contain, with it requiring the combined efforts of several water release users in order to extinguish the flames. Fire release, Great Fire Destruction. A technique where chakra needed inside the user's body is converted into fire and then expelled from the mouth in a massive stream of intense flames that can set a vast area ablaze, engulfing the target in a veritable sea of flames. If used upon a dense combustible terrain such as a forest, the confined area can greatly increase the possibility of the target's incineration. Fire release, Great Fire Heavenly Prison. A stronger version of the fire release Heavenly Prison that can be used on larger targets. Unlike with the parent technique, when this is used, the person's entire body is engulfed in flames as the cursed seal is branded on them. Fire release, Great Fireball Technique. The user needs chakra in their body and turns it into flame, which they then expel from their mouth. The more chakra they use, the more flames are produced. Sometimes the flames lack a distinct shape, being only a stream, but more often than not, they take the form of a giant orb that maintains its shape until hitting a target. Upon impact, the fireball is powerful enough to crater the ground and vaporize the surroundings. Against living targets, the fireball can cause extensive burns. The Great Fireball technique was created by the Uchiha clan and over time became one of their signature abilities. The Uchiha in fact used the Great Fireball technique as a coming-of-age rite, with members not being considered true adults until they learned to perform it. Fire release, Great Flame Flower. Needing his chakra and then converting it to fire, the user creates a multitude of fireballs at the same time, which then rain down on the target, causing severe, widespread damage over the field. These fireballs can easily destroy earth release created shelters and even overpower water release attacks. Fire release, Great Flame Technique. The Fire Release Great Flame Technique is a hidden fire release technique utilized by the Sarutobi clan. The user needs chakra in their stomach and expels a large stream of flames from their mouth that progressively widens with range. The technique can also be used collaboratively to create an enormous vortex of rapidly expanding flames. The flames are hot enough to quickly evaporate large quantities of water within a relatively short amount of time. Fire Release, Heavenly Prison. The Fire Release Heavenly Prison is an imprisonment technique, or Kinko Jutsu, used by Mui's clan. The ones who are subjected to this technique have a formula applied to them which will prevent them from molding chakra and from using techniques. It will also drain them of their chakra at a slow but steady rate. Mui uses this technique on the prisoners of the Hozuki castle. If the ones who have the seal on them leave a certain radius from the applier, then it will cause the victims to burst into flames from the inside, burning them to ashes. The user can also ignite the seal at their own free will. However, for people with high amounts of chakra, such as Naruto, they can still mold chakra and use techniques to a certain extent. The techniques used, however, will be severely hampered, and the seal will cause the user in question intense pain, as though their bodies were on fire. If too much chakra is forced out, the formula will set the victim ablaze. It's possible for an individual to undo the heavenly prison placed by another, as Benga undid Tsukiyo's that was placed by Mujo. Being a fire technique, it cannot work in water, and the victim simply has to submerge themselves in a body of water to use chakra with ease. Anyone set aflame by this technique can be saved if water is poured over them. Also, this technique only suppresses normal chakra from within one's body. When enhanced with natural energy gathered externally, one is able to use chakra. If anyone with the seal applied were to create a shadow clone, the clone would not bear the seal. The seal will disappear if the user dies. Fire release, hiding in ash and dust technique. The user expels chakra-infused ash that blanket a wide area, burning anyone who comes in contact with it. The technique can also be used as a powerful deterrent from attacks as well as a highly effective smokescreen. This technique is a far more effective substitute for smoke bombs, since the user doesn't need their hands to be free, nor does this technique require hand seals. Fire release, hiding in fire technique. Using this technique, a user can hide themselves inside a flame. Upon leaving concealment, flames burn, revealing the user. A member of the Nokizaru group made use of this technique during a mission to retrieve a stolen scroll from Kumogakure Shinobi. Fire release, intelligent hard work. Kakuzu's fire element mask fires a small fireball that erupts into a giant fire storm after making contact with a surface, causing widespread destruction to the area. Since the flames travel along the ground and cover such a wide area, this is a difficult technique to evade. When combined with the wind release pressure damage, this technique is amplified to the point of being able to evaporate a large amount of water in an instant. Fire release, mist blaze dance technique. The user is able to create and blow a flammable gas from their lungs. Once it comes in contact with fire or spark, the gas ignites into a large fireball. Kagero uses this technique while disguised as Kabuto Yakashi. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Fire technique. The user spits a volley of small fireballs into the air. At a glance, it can appear as though there was only one fireball that then burst into many. The many small flames move wildly through the area, potentially mesmerizing targets as they're surrounded. The user controls each individual flame with their chakra, allowing them to guide each at the target and consequently making this technique difficult to evade. Shuriken can be hidden within the flames, not only making them more deadly upon impact, but also by controlling the flame's movements, giving the users a means of controlling the Shuriken as well. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Flower Nail Crimson. The user unleashes a volley of shuriken with one hand and at the same time exhales fire-infused chakra onto them in order to increase the weapon's destructive potential by making them capable of inflicting severe burns upon direct contact with either the intended victim or any other object caught within their trajectories. Due to the chakra-based nature of the flames that surround them, the shuriken will continue to burn after impact, regardless of the flammability of the object that they ultimately collide with. Fire release, running fire. This technique creates a stream of fire that can be manipulated into several forms. So far, rings of fire that run on the ground or a circle of fire flying through the air before striking the target. It can also be used in combination with wind release Divine Wind to create a tornado of flames, or with wind release Divine Mountain Wind to release a massive inferno. The latter, which is made even more powerful when used in an enclosed space created by Earth release Earth Corridor. Fire release Toad Oil Flame Bullet. This is a cooperation ninjutsu performed by a toad and a fire user who have achieved mental and physical harmony with each other. The toad, specifically a large one such as Gamabunta, uses its large lung capacity to spray toad oil from its mouth at a target. The fire user then ignites the oil, increasing the attack's power and range. Jiraiya uses Fire Release Flame Bullet for this purpose. In the anime, Naruto Uzumaki instead sets flame to the oil with an exploding tag. The resulting cloud of fire is great enough that it forces Manda to shed its skin to escape. Fire Sealing Method. The user first readies a scroll that they've previously inscribed with a special sealing formula, which has a blank space left in the center. They then activate this technique, quickly sucking any nearby fire release into the blank space and sealing it there, signified by the appearance of the kanji for seal. Regardless of any special properties that the flames may have, such as those of Amaterasu, they will remain sealed until the user chooses to unseal them. Because this technique is designed for fire release, performing it requires expertise in not only using seals, but ninjutsu as well. Fission Technique. The Fission Technique is a highly advanced ninjutsu which allows Mu to literally split his own body into two identical yet entirely independent duplicates of himself. Unlike clone techniques that only appear to be similar, the ability is instead a physical separation, and so does not require hand seals to activate, making it faster in comparison as a result. This also means that even if one is incapacitated, the other remains completely unaffected, as neither can be truly regarded as the original. Because the duplicates cannot be dispelled like normal clones, they will be unable to reunite if one is sealed. This poses a great risk to Mu, as his chakra reserves are also halved in the process. In doing so, he is left unable to use more taxing techniques like his dust release Keke Tota. 5 Element Seal. Orochimaru gathers wicked chakra to his 5 fingertips, which he forcefully applies over another seal. When this 5 element seal, being an odd number, is applied over the 4 symbol seal, being of an even number, the 4 symbol seal is disrupted because of the odd-even imbalance. In Naruto Uzumaki's case, he loses access to the chakra of the Nine Tails, which the 4 symbol seal keeps stored in his body, and furthermore makes it difficult for him to use his own. When the 5 element seal is initially applied, Naruto is rendered unconscious. When Jiraiya is later removing the 5 element seal from Naruto, he is able to correctly guess that Orochimaru applied it in the first place, describing its use as coarse. 5 elements Unseal. This technique removes seals of similar power to itself. The user gathers chakra to their fingertips and hits the fingers against the seal that is to be removed, causing it to unravel and disappear. If the seal was applied to a person, the thrust of the hand that accompanies the technique will likely be painful. When Jiraiya uses this technique to remove a 5 element seal, it appears quite easy for him. In truth, this is a very advanced technique that even a Jonin would find difficult to perform. In the anime, Kazuma uses the 5 elements Unseal on Sora, thus increasing his access to the Nine Tails chakra sealed in his body. In another episode, Orochimaru uses the 5 elements Unseal to break the Iron Armor seal. 5 Release Great Combo Technique. The user creates 4 shadow clones and alongside them launch a different base elemental attack at the target simultaneously. 5 Seal Barrier. This technique creates a barrier around a place by placing 4 forbidden tags in different locations surrounding the place to be protected, a 5th tag on the location to be protected. The tags are placed on flat surfaces and are connected with the user's chakra. This technique turns the entire range surrounded by the tags into a barrier space, and inside the space, the material's destruction is forbidden. Using any kind of physical attack to try and destroy something in the barrier is folly, as it will only lead to injury. To cancel this, it is necessary to search for the other 4 tags and tear them off simultaneously, meaning there must be at least 5 people on a team to cancel it. This likely means this technique was designed to counter the fact that shinobi generally move in 4-man teams, thus allowing the user to buy more time. Even if the tags are removed, the user could add a trap that will create perfect copies of those who have removed the seal, preventing them from returning immediately. 5 Seal Barrier Pass Technique. In order to enter the boundary created by the 5 Seal Barrier without dispelling the technique, Deidara used a technique which raised the rock blocking the entry to Akatsuki's hideout. It granted him and Sasori passage into the hideout while keeping the barrier intact. Flaming Arrow of Amazing Ability. The Flaming Arrow of Amazing Ability is a technique used by Nagato through the Asura Path. Using the body modification ability of the Asura Path, the user compresses a high amount of chakra at the slit of its wrist before releasing it, causing its detachable hand to be fired with tremendous force. It has enough destructive power to easily break through thick bedrock. As the hand portion is protected with chakra, it allows it to remain unscathed. When the attack is complete, the hand is drawn back like a magnet by chakra in the wrist, reattaching itself. Flaming Arrow Warhead. The Flaming Arrow Warhead technique is used by Nagato through the Asura Path. Using the body modification ability of the Asura Path, the user detaches their hand, revealing a cluster of missiles. The further the hand is removed from the arm, the more missiles can be fired at once. These can be fired to create widespread damage or as homing devices seeking a single target. Even if the Asura Path has sustained significant damage, it can still produce missiles from its body, as it did when Pain attempted to kill Choji. Flash. A swift ranged attack where the user swings their sword at a target after coating it in chakra, releasing a sharp crescent of chakra in the arc of the blade that was swung. Flashing Bell Beams. Shion's bell flashes and sends a ray of flashing pink light towards the enemy. It is powerful enough to cleanly slice through 3 of Morio's Ghost Army soldiers. Flower Ninja Art. Flower Ninja Art is a subset of ninjutsu and genjutsu involving secret flower-oriented techniques, used by a clan in the Land of Vegetables. The 2 known users of flower art are Kikunojo and Yurinojo. Flower Ninja Art, Many Blooming Flowers. After surrounding the opponent with flowers, the user will ignite the flowers. These flames will then shoot towards and explode on the target. Flower Ninja Art, many releasing flowers. This technique turns flowers into bombs that can be detonated like explosive tags. Flower Shuriken, falling blossoms and scattering leaves. This technique will make flowers hover in the air before hardening and spinning at high speeds. The flowers will then be launched at the target. Their hardened state will allow them to cut targets as effectively as metal shuriken. Flower Fruit Mountain. The Flower Fruit Mountain is a lava release technique utilized by Son Goku and his Jinchuriki Roshi. While in his transformed state, Roshi creates a volcano which then explodes violently, sending molten rock flying up in all directions, the effects of which resemble a giant flower. The lava produced is said to be able to melt anything in its path. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure you subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.